I'm just a huge horror fan. So hard to say. I like scary movies. Hey guys, so since we're only a few days away from Halloween, I figured this is the perfect time to tell you about my top 6 all-time favorite horror movies. Now obviously there are going to be some iconic films that I don't put on my list, or some that you probably think suck, but everyone has their own taste. I mean, some people think Shark Night 3D was a great movie. Seriously. So here are my top 6 horror, mystery, thriller, scary movies. Starting off with number 6, we have Psycho, which I have this really cool steelbook for. This is my favorite classic horror movie. It's been my favorite for a long time. It obviously doesn't follow the conventions that we associate with horror today, but I think Alfred Hitchcock was a master at creating characters that were really creepy, but at the same time, lovable. Basically, if you haven't seen Psycho, which I'm assuming you've at least seen some parts, it's about a woman who steals some money from her job and goes on the run and checks into this really small, creepy hotel run by Norman Bates. Let's just say he's really close with his mother. Next up is my favorite vampire love story. And no, it's probably not the one you're thinking. This is Let the Right One In, which is a Swedish film from 2008. Basically, it's about this kid who's bullied and he meets this girl who has a little secret. Okay, it's kind of a big secret. She sucks the blood from people to stay alive. But what I love most about this movie is it's not your typical horror movie. It's not very gory or super scary. There's also an American remake that came out a few years later that I also own. And it wasn't bad, but it just kind of pissed me off that they made a remake in the first place. But definitely recommend the original. Now, this next one is the most recent one on my list, but I think it deserves its place in horror history, and that is Insidious. Now, this position was really a toss-up between Insidious and The Conjuring, but they were directed by the same guy, so it's kind of a draw. I don't know, just something about these movies just really stands out to me. I don't feel like there's anything else out there like it. And James Wan is just an amazing supernatural horror director. Speaking of the supernatural, number 3 on my list is by my all-time favorite director, Guillermo del Toro, and it is El Orfanato, or The Orphanage. You may know him best from Pan's Labyrinth, Pacific Rim, or most recently Crimson Peak, but I think Guillermo del Toro is a cinematic genius. And it's about a woman who moves into the orphanage she grew up in, and one day her son goes missing. I'm not gonna give anything away, but it's just one of the most jaw-dropping twist endings I've ever seen. Now, I know I'm gonna get a bunch of crap for my number 2 pick for my favorite horror film, but it's gotta be Cloverfield. I was so obsessed with this movie when it first came out. I don't know, I've just always had a thing for these found footage type films, like Blair Witch Project, and I think blending that with a monster movie with a ton of special effects was really innovative and awesome. I just love J.J. Abrams and everything he does, so this was an obvious choice for me. And finally, my number 1 pick for favorite horror movie of all time is Shark Night 3D. Just kidding, it's actually The Descent. Now, this isn't really an indie film, but it's not super well known either. But it's about this group of girls who go caving in North Carolina and they end up getting trapped down there, of course. But there's some really freaky creature things there as well. I don't know, it's just super creepy, and I love movies with really tense moments, and this whole movie is in almost complete darkness. And the atmosphere just suits this film really well, so if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. If you like this video, I live for your thumbs, so hit that like button. And if your favorite didn't make my list, let me know. I love good movie recommendations. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and remember, we all go a little mad sometimes.